Hello and good morning. It is Friday, the 21st of May, 2021. It's been a really kind of busy week for me, lots of kind of stuff going on, some good, some bad. What I try to do every Friday at 9 a.m. is that I have a business course called the Roadmap MBA, which actually, truth be told, it's been live for, we're coming up to the end of the 14th week now. I must admit, I've worked on it for quite a few years. What it looks like is something a little bit like this. It's a 216-page kind of business course, but it's really kind of peppered with live interactive classroom sessions where we walk through the whole thing and help people make a real change in their business or career. We've got the interactive kind of live Q&A sessions where people send me in stuff that I kind of talk about every kind of Friday. And then there's a whole manner of like online videos and support systems and that kind of thing. And what we're really trying to do is make business education accessible to people that either don't have time, which is one of the main kind of key drivers, can't afford it, it's too complicated, it's quite intimidating where, often people can be quite scared of some of the really complicated concepts and difficult language, if they don't class themselves as academic. But then likewise, I think the industry doesn't help itself where a lot of people try and make themselves sound smart, where they say something over the course of 200 pages that they could probably say in two. But based on 2 pages, you probably can't sell a book. So that's probably the reason why people do it. But anyway, the whole point of the live kind of Q&A sessions is a bit of interactivity. It's to work with people around the world who can please kind of get involved in the comments. Feel free to give yourself a shout out about who you are, what you do. My name's Steve Pugh. I'm a chartered mechanical engineer by trade. I get paid to help grow and turn around companies, and I am quite good at it. But I think one of the reasons is that I approach everything and I approach business in a very logical, systematic way, in a way an engineer would to solve a problem. And then what I try and do is try and break it down. So if there's a very kind of complicated, if there's a complicated concept, like, even presenting on camera, I try and talk about it in a way that kind of, makes it easier for you to understand. Good morning, Simon. Simon comments every week, and I say that every week, but I genuinely appreciate the support. But again, this is also for freelancers and people that work from home or work all around the world that often can be sat on their own. It can be quite lonely, and I know that I kind of feel it myself. So it's just a chance to kind of get involved, have a bit of banter. You can ask me whatever you wish. Within the sessions, I normally do a bit of a recap on the week just to kind of share my journey, because likewise, it's not all good. And I like to be honest about that. So I got heckled this week where after my interview on Monday, one of the things that I always try and actively do, and to be honest, you should do, when you're speaking to someone and you're trying to build rapport and that kind of thing, and especially if it's a remote interview, you actively listen. So when someone talks, you nod your head and smile and show that you're engaged. And basically someone said it looked like I'd done 20 lines of cocaine when I posted the video. And it was just one of those things that I just deleted it. But you will get heckled, you will get trolled, but actually it's not going to stop me doing it. But my point is that if you ever, a lot of people don't post on socials because they're fear of what other people think, do or say, and it does happen. But then vice versa, I also got some wonderful feedback via voicemail actually from a lady called Amy, who I'd sent the course to, and just, she recognized the time and effort and passion and the things that had gone into it. And it was just really nice because, anyone who kind of does their own thing, or to be honest, it doesn't really matter what it is in your career as well. When you really kind of throw your heart and soul into something, there is an element of risk that you're putting yourself out there and you don't know if people are going to like it or buy it or whichever. So actually when you do get good feedback, it normally is quite nice. And it was just funny this week that I had both, which is cool. Good morning from Westray. Hi, Mert. Mert again, one of my star pupils. Mert when we have the classroom sessions every Tuesday morning. Every Tuesday at 3 o'clock. It's morning now. What we do is that we walk through the course, and we've actually done the first 4 modules now, but we do recap them, covering everything from your aims and ambitions, what are you trying to achieve. I've got a client coming in here at 11 o'clock this morning about how we grow his business. But unless you really kind of sculpt out where you want to be in the time scale you want to achieve it by, it's very difficult to put the pieces in place to do it. Then we do a lot of the aims and ambitions, the character traits and personal development stuff that you can work on to either make yourself more employable or be a more attractive business partner or be more likely to gain investment from people in your business or startup. And that's kind of module 2. Module 3 is about personal branding, about how we then articulate these, understanding who they are, what they do, and then how we kind of push that out to to the world and the benefits that can bring. And then from module 4 onwards, it kind of then goes into more nitty-gritty on business strategy stuff, some of which I'm going to cover today. And what we're then doing is looking to build your skill set in different areas to basically help you make that next step in your business or career. And it's all genuinely good, valuable stuff that I use every day. People hire me to do this stuff. So you're not kind of learning from someone that is just a teacher, if you want to put it that way. You know, people pay me to make real impact. And if I was crap at my job, people wouldn't pay me. So it's that kind of interactivity that everything I talk about, you know, hopefully adds value. But then likewise, the whole essence of the Q&A is that you can ask me stuff. And if I don't know, I'll look quite foolish. So it's like a quality check that, you know, you'd have to be quite brave to do this if you were just kind of winging it. Hi, good morning, Simon, again. But it's a good point. So Simon commented about the consistency, is that I talk about this on the course. But for anyone that has a dream or an ambition, and that could be to lose weight, it could be to launch a business, it could be whatever, you have to set a standard for yourself to maintain if you're actually going to achieve it. In the course, we call it lead actions. And one of the things that I was very conscious to do is that it's part of the reason why I invested so much money in creating all of this and trying to help grow it and build it. But it was just, I knew that people trust people that are consistent, that show up, that even if you're not their, you know, cup of tea or whichever, that it still builds trust that you're willing to show up every week, in and out, doesn't matter what happens, because actually it just shows, you know, you're committed. But actually it's one of those things that the consistency of posting and stuff, it is difficult to do because actually you need to create new content every single week regardless. But I tend to just pick stuff from the week, which I thought I would kind of talk about. But no, Simon, I appreciate the heads up. And again, congrats on the global interview. And if you, I'm sure Simon will post a link to check that out as well. But it's an awesome series of interviews. They've just finished series 17, which I was part of, where you get to hear the interesting stories of lots of different people. I've since connected with a few of them. A few of them have actually now got the roadmap, which is awesome. But it's that kind of building this network is so kind of valuable. No, I genuinely. Hi Julie, I apologize. The amount of times I've been trolled about loads of different things is that I also got, when the same guy that trolled me about nodding my head too much said that I lick my lips too much. And what's also quite funny is that when you talk and present, as people do on stage, or I guess I'm doing virtually now, your mouth goes dry, so you kind of need to drink. And because my microphone is here, I apologize for any loud sips, but I will try and you know, manage it in the future, but that's cool. But again, you know, part of the thing is just, you know, this is a real live thing that anyone else could do this. I started doing this from my bedroom, or my spare bedroom, about a year ago, and it's just to learn and improve. And then maybe in a year's time or half a year's time, whichever, you know, I want to improve this setup again. But it's all about the community and trying to add value and trying to learn what I can and can't sip. And it might be that I need to change away from that style of cup, but I don't know. You know, it is what it is. So in today's session, there's a few things I'm going to go through. One is how not to give an absolutely terrible sales pitch. I was on a call yesterday with a guy, and it was just atrocious. It was a big group call with 70 odd people on, and the guy who'd sponsored it was in theory plugging his company, which is nothing wrong with that. But he just lost the audience so quick, and I'm going to talk about how not to do that and things to just keep in mind whenever you do a sales pitch or whichever. I'm actually going to talk about strategy. What is it? Why is it important to do? And then that's going to lead up to an event which I'm holding with Nepic this Thursday, or Thursday coming up, which again is on the same kind of topic. Relating to this, I thought it was quite interesting. I'm going to talk about why strategies like Scrabble. And although that sounds like a stupid title, it'll hopefully make sense when I kind of walk through it. And it's all about how everyone has certain skill sets or pieces, as you do on a Scrabble board, and you can add more, but the game of business is to try and get the highest score you can. And then with personal development, it's how you can add in different pieces based on what you need, which is quite interesting. And then last but not least, I'm going to talk about good social media, which I'm probably going to start on, which is actually just how to create good, solid content, but actually get impact from it. So I'm going to take another loud sip. Sorry, Julie. See, now I'm going to be conscious of it, but I still appreciate the heads up. It's just one of those ways to get better. So, I've also noticed, I don't know why I underline every heading. Every time I write on the board, I seem to underline it. I think it's a character trait of mine. So most people understand the benefits of social media in terms of what is it. Most of us are on the platforms. Like this stream is predominantly on LinkedIn, but it goes on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and a few others as well. But people kind of get that. There's still some important things to do to how to do it well. Does that make sense? And it's not difficult, it's not complicated. And actually, taking Simon's point, consistency is one of them. But the first thing that you want to do is know what your goal is. If you have a business, so it could be Julie, it could be mine, it could be Simon's, it could be whichever. What is it you're actually trying to achieve? Because actually, if you don't know what you're trying to achieve, it's very difficult to then create content around it. But that's one of the most important things, is we talk about in the course, you want to be seen as something called an authority or an expert on a topic. So if you are a chef and you're passionate about cooking, the more you talk about food, ingredients, spices, but actually demonstrate your passion about that topic, it will really go a long way to making people think that you are an authority or an expert on that topic. And the reason why that's really important is that people trust people that they see as authority figures. So if you're seen as someone that is very knowledgeable on a topic, people trust you more. But what's interesting is that people actually trust authority figures even if it's not their area of expertise. So actually, for instance, if I remember, so Jurgen Klopp is the manager of Liverpool Football Club. He obviously knows a lot about football and managing football teams. But I remember he was asked what did he think of the UK general election, and people genuinely want and admire and take advice from people that they see as an authority or an expert. So what you really want to do is build your knowledge and your demonstration of knowledge on a topic. So I'm going to switch to green. Prime example could be, hopefully when I do these and I talk about stuff, it shows that I've kind of done my homework and kind of researched it. But it could even be live streaming or whichever. But really kind of know what your goal is and actually be seen as an authority or an expert on the topic. The next is that if you know what your goal is, which could be to attract new customers, or it could be just to build a network or gain followers, it's know what is relevant to your audience. Prime example being, people might have a hobby on cycling, or it could be needlework or whichever. But if on your main business platform, when you're trying to drive sales for your marketing business, you only ever talk about needlework and cycling, or just non-relevant stuff that your audience is really interested in, it's very difficult to actually then build the connection and achieve your goal. What you will do is build brand value and what people think about you if they resonate with what you talk about. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but actually you want to make sure that it's relevant to your audience, but also the goal that you do. One of my pet peeves with this is that you saw it quite recently. People would post, what's your favorite McDonald's flavor, or just random kind of crappy stuff, which is fine. And it will get interaction. It will get comments and likes and whatever, but it's not branding. It's not actually building towards your goal. And it's that crucial mistake that people often chase likes and views and follows when actually you want quality, if that makes sense. And it's almost, so don't just post about anything, or you get people that do random polls on stuff. Always try and keep it kind of relevant to what you want to do. You want to be consistent, which is to make Simon's point. Because one of the points on that is that you might actually write, there you go, thanks Simon. I see you posted about the global interview. So you actually still want to be relevant to your audience, but if you spend a lot of time to actually kind of, write your post once, and you only do once every 6 months, what you're not doing is building weight or momentum with your audience that you kind of get on people's radar. So it's wonderful actually that Simon did say, I'm being consistent, I do this every week, but that's on purpose, and it's almost just trying to show up that if I did one or two, and actually because live streaming is quite difficult, there's lots of people that started this before me, but they stopped quite quick because it's difficult to come up with the content every week. And actually just being consistent is really good. But actually what I'm now going to do, so this is some of the stuff, where is my other note? There we go. But one thing that's also really important is that with a business, or with any kind of promotional kind of stuff. There's a famous study by two guys called Burnett and Field, and basically what it was, they looked at what is the best balance of brand building marketing to help achieve your goal. And what they found that you want to spend 40% of your time on a call to action in terms of a direct sales approach. And this is any form of activity to try and drive sales for your business. You want to spend 40% of your time on that, and actually 60% of your time on general brand building. Who are you? What are you passionate about? Things that you're interested in. But this is also true when you do your own kind of social media. So it's really important to get people to get across your mannerisms and who you are and what you're about and what you're passionate about, and to get people to know you, to build that kind of rapport and connection, which is all the 60% kind of brand building. But actually at some point you still need to sell something. So when actually you do your 40% short-term kind of sales activation, and that could be get people to sign up to a global interview, so that's a primary example. It could be to get someone to join your course or your thing next week or whichever. The one thing you want to do with this you want something called a call to action. And basically this is at the bottom of your website or the bottom of the post. So one topic could be on, I interviewed a lady called Amy Sergeson from Muckle LLP recently, and it was all about the EU settlement scheme and how that can impact employers and stuff. And when I interviewed her, we clipped it up and we created a video. And the video in some ways was to help demonstrate Amy as an authority and an expert on a topic, which helps her brand. But actually they've got an event, I think it's on the 8th of June, which they want people to sign up for, because it'll genuinely help them. But actually, it's part of their business process. So with those posts, you always need to include the call to action, or as Simon has done in the chat, give people the actual link, give them the next step to do. And actually within your social media, if you can demonstrate you're an authority or an expert on a topic, that you're likable and you know who you are in your kind of your greater brand building, that it's relevant to your audience is a big one. You have to be consistent, so you'll hopefully see me unless something drastic happens this time next week and the week after and the week after. And likewise, the call to action, that if it's relevant, always make sure to throw it in. These are kind of the main key building blocks to good social media, but actually it's good marketing, it's good stuff to help you achieve your goal. And again, that's the one thing that you really want to understand what it is you're trying to do. Most people fall down on a few of these because actually, even if the stuff you posted wasn't the best, because the other thing as well, on the authority and expert, you want to tell people what you think. So, it's no good just, you could take a Harvard Business Review article, copy it, put it in your feed, click paste and send. And that's fine, and it'll show that you're related to a topic. But the way to demonstrate authority and expertise, and actually what makes you unique, which is something we cover in the course, is what do you think about it? What is it relevant? Is it relevant to SMEs? Is it relevant to the sector that you're in? And it's all these things add up and add real weight to basically help you achieve whatever it is you want to do. And most people fall down on a few, and just being consistent, just showing up. Even if you did post below average posts, but you did it quite often, not too often that it would annoy people, it'll still have a much better impact than doing one really good quality post once every 6 months. Cool. So thank you, everyone. Simon. Okay. Simon. We've got the Simons interacting as well, which is cool. And that's the other thing that I joke about, is that often when you present, it's also quite difficult to think about the flow of the stream and read questions and not worry about doing loud sips at the same time. But I appreciate everyone's support, and thank you. Please kind of get involved in the comments. And likewise, Julie or any of the others met, please feel free to actually drop in a bit of a plug for what you do, how people can get involved with you, and likewise maybe some of your call to actions, just because this gets clipped up, it goes onto YouTube, and you never know who's going to see it. So please kind of get involved. That's cool. Okay. So how is everyone this week? I had my first COVID vaccine this week. So I had it in my right arm on Wednesday, and actually it wasn't as bad as I thought. I have asthma, so a part of me was a little bit worried about, was I going to have any negative side effects and stuff? But touch some wood, seems to be cool. But I think one of the things, again, on the UK rollout, I've been really impressed with how we've actually handled it, both in the creation of the vaccine, but actually just with the volunteers and stuff, with all the NHS different services and the way people muck in. And also I think one of the things that, you know, a lot of people are very good at is in times of crisis, everyone just, I say, does what they're told, but we queue up, we keep the distance. Yes, you're always going to get people that break the rules and, you know, don't respect whatever. But I think the general kind of wider population, I've been really impressed with UK's response to COVID and actually the volunteers and the NHS and stuff. So that's really cool. But having actually been through it this week, I thought I would just kind of mention it on the stream. Okay, so next I'm going to go on to what is strategy. And this sounds like a stupid question, but I don't think people always understand it. Okay. So it'll be interesting to see if Mets are still on the call, because we covered this on Tuesday in the classroom session. And the one big thing about business is that everything you ever see is about how do you grow your business, how do you increase sales, and how do you do more. So what you kind of do is that they do that. And everyone wants to dream, everyone wants to make more money, everyone wants to do stuff. But actually, if you go to almost anywhere, they tell you about, oh yeah, we'll educate you on marketing, we'll teach you how to sell more, we'll teach you how to prospect customers and do all that good stuff, which is important, don't get me wrong, and that does help you do this. But the one thing that most people get wrong is that with strategy, you actually want to work backwards and figure out actually, is what you do and what your company does and offers, is it the correct thing for your audience? But then actually, excuse me, the more you understand your customer, their pain points and what they're dealing with, if you can offer something which is a lot more valuable, it'll be a hell of a lot more successful than if you just try and push and do more of the same. Does that make sense? And basically what you then want to look at you want to look at the pain points of the customer, and this is a marketing term where you're looking at how, if with the roadmap you have business education that is seen as inaccessible for all different reasons, it's one of the things that we look to do, and actually just trying to make it simple and, you know, have the interactivity in ways that books and stuff have ever done. That's a pain point of a customer, that for time poor consumers that don't have time to do, I don't know, a whole business course or do a proper MBA or whichever because they're busy working or their parents, you can pick it up for 2 minutes or 2 hours, jump in and jump out, and actually just help you add in the extra pieces to help you make that kind of next step, which is something that we'll talk about in the next kind of Scrabble section. But you will need to understand the pain points of the customer. And one of the classic things is, the more you understand about this, it's how do you win in the customer's world. So actually you want to put yourself in the customer's shoes. What can you add that is valuable to them that actually doesn't necessarily cost you anything, but it'll make a real difference in helping you differentiate and stand out in the market. So in the business course, we go into this in quite in-depth detail, and actually for my NEPIC event on Thursday, I'm going to go into a lot more detail about how we can do this. One way is just comparing yourself to comparing yourself to competitors, and looking at what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. And one of the prime examples is if you sell food and you have a small corner shop, it's very difficult in theory to compete against a Waitrose or an Asda or a Tesco on price. You can't compete on price. You can't compete on selection. You can't really compete on opening hours because you can't work 24 hours a day. But the one thing you could do is compete on customer service. You could make sure that you know everyone's name that comes into the shop. You can make them feel welcomed. You could thank them for coming in. And actually your strategy could involve better customer service that actually, for people that don't have too tight a pressure on their expenditure to do with their food shopping, your business will be a lot more successful if you focus on customer service. But this is almost looking at the pain points of the customer, understanding what they are, and how can you basically, what can you do to help solve them, and then basically add more value. And one of the prime examples I always talk about on this sorry, Julie, is that in a former life, I was managing director of a manufacturing business based in Durham. And there are tons of machine shops, there are thousands of them. And it's a very competitive marketplace for how you, when you make stuff, how do you stand out? And one of the things that we realized when we looked at the pain points of the customer, but actually what decisions could we make which would make us different. So here, when you've got what decisions can you make to give you a competitive advantage, this is really, really important, because often they don't cost you anything, but this is how you build the strategy so that then when you do accelerate it, you can absolutely obliterate the competition. One of my current businesses is, they're doing very, very well. They've arguably doubled in size and things are going really, really well this year. But actually we still have capacity in terms of the potential to run a second or third shift in terms of production. So what that could do, the main pain point for the customer is to do it lead times. They want stuff quickly, but actually there are things that we can do relatively cheaply to decrease the lead time, to make us more attractive. And because one of the main buying drivers is lead time, we'll sell more. So actually we'll be able to grow the company quicker because of the decisions that we've been able to make. But the way to do that is to take a holistic view at everything that you have, your network, your background. You could be extremely articulate, you could be a great illustrator, anything that you have as a person which is a competitive advantage over what someone else has or hasn't done. Use it as a strength. So for me, one of my big ones is actually just the ability to learn stuff. I'm quite good at learning. I'm building a whole business around it, that as the world changes, it's the ability to take in information, simplify it, and then communicate it back to people is something that I want to do as a USP. Just as a prime kind of example. But basically, yeah, if you can get your strategy right, which is everything that you do, before you try and accelerate it, you'll be a lot more successful. So then once you get the strategy right about what gives you your competitive advantage, then you add in the marketing and sales. And that'll help you do much better. But one of the key things that you talk about with marketing is actually really know your key messages to what is it you're trying to push. And your key messages come from the strategy. So when you kind of find your voice, then accelerate it as well. If you don't really get the strategy bit right first, it's the equivalent of someone just shouting in the street and making a loud noise and not really knowing why. And yeah, that is hopefully a little input on strategy. But relating to this, and again, please feel free to comment if you have any questions or if I've described it badly or whichever. That's the whole point, so hopefully that's cool. But the next one. So why is strategy like Scrabble? So Scrabble is a board game, if you don't know, but it's sold in 100 countries. I think everyone knows what Scrabble is. And basically, the whole point of the game is that all of the players, and it could be 2 to 4 players, they sit around the board, and they all get given a certain number of tiles. And then what happens is that you all have your little tray. I'll do 3. So everyone gets their tray that they put their tiles in, and then they get allocated different letters. And the game is that you have to combine the letters, make a word, and then you get points. And at the start, everyone gets given different letters. So you might get A, S, T, P, E, R, Z, Q, S, T, R, A. The point is everyone actually gets different letters to start with, and that's different. The reason why I think Scrabble is very much like strategy and personal development is that actually when we all start in our career, or even wherever we're kind of at, we've all got different talents. We all have, in effect, different skill sets that we can add up and deploy in business to help us do well or help us grow our business or whatever. The whole concept of personal development is really identifying what are your skill sets, but then likewise, what do you need to help add in the next level. So when you actually, have time to work and learn a new skill. So for instance, if you are a financial accountant, you're extremely good at what you do, very well respected, and you've got a great business, but nobody knows who you are, it makes sense to add in a tile, add in the skill set, which in this case could be marketing. And then likewise, once we've kind of found your voice and we've understood the customer, and in the roadmap, we have 40 odd pages of really good content about how to do marketing well. The next thing is then to accelerate it. So then you would add in sales. But the whole point was, for businesses or as a personal, individual, we all have different skill sets. And again, some people have more. So some people might be, I don't know, Zed, might have more experience and have more skill sets than others. But it's always something we can do and learn, because actually the more and the greater the skill set that you have, the more tools you have to actually get a higher score. Because the whole point is, it's how you use the things that you have to then actually help you either achieve a business or achieve your personal goal, or launch the charity that you want to work in, your fundraising, whichever. And it was just the analogy that actually none of us are the finished product. I sip too loudly when I do live streams, and 100 other kind of things. But it's almost where, when you recognize your skill set, knowing that you can then drop in different tiles, different abilities to help you get to that next level, is quite valuable. And I think the challenge is often actually identifying what are the pieces that you need to actually plug that gap. And it's often that's where something like the roadmap is quite useful, is because we teach a whole range of options. You got sales, strategy, marketing, management, but we go into great depth on a whole range of things. Is that it allows you to have a fuller picture of all the tiles, and then you can choose what to add in when to help you make that next step. Because I think one of the main kind of problems with traditional education is that everything's in a separate place. So you might read a marketing book, or a strategy book, or a mindset book, or management, whichever. And it's quite rare that you'd ever see anything all in one place, just get a feel for what you need, what's important to you, and then jump on that at the same time. And that's something that I tried to do at the course, just to kind of bring it all together. But then likewise, with all of the main kind of key topics that we talk about, they all make each other better, with a prime example of the more you understand about personal branding and what the world thinks about you and how you can change it, that will improve your ability to communicate, your ability to get meetings, your ability to close sales, and actually your ability to think outside the box and find business opportunities, than if you didn't. And it's how all of the different pieces of business and stuff actually genuinely do interlink. And my belief is that you can actually be a lot more successful through combining them and have a really good rounded skill set. The equivalent of having more tiles on your board is what I'm trying to do with this. And so what time we're on? We're on 9:33. I genuinely thank everyone for your time this week. I've hopefully covered everything I said I would. Please feel free to drop me a message anytime. You can actually also send me messages 24 hours a day to questions@roadmapmba.com. And in the past, we've had how do I become managing director? How do I progress my career quickly? How do I achieve financial freedom? We've had a whole range of things. They all get clipped up and go onto YouTube. So if you go onto YouTube and search for Steve Pugh Roadmap MBA, you can actually just search for them all. If you're interested in the course, the Roadmap MBA, check out roadmapmba.com. There's a whole walkthrough. You can't see all the content, but actually there is a course walkthrough, so you can see me talk through the whole textbook and all the stuff on the website as well to get a feel for what's there. We do classroom sessions every Tuesday where you get to meet other interesting people on a similar journey and actually kind of learn with them. And likewise, when there's other people to ask questions, it's a really useful kind of forum. And yeah, the whole thing about the course is that you can kind of dip in and dip out for 2 minutes or 2 hours, work around your own life, or even at your kids' swimming lesson, you can join the live streams on the phone and stuff as well and still kind of interact. So my name is Steve Pugh. Hopefully I will see you next week, if not before. On Monday, actually, I haven't announced this yet, I'm interviewing a chap called Michael Richardson, who is a business owner that I've known for quite a few years. He runs a fabulous business called ACT Machine Tools. I'll put the advert out later today for the interview. That will be Monday at 4 p.m. And the reason, again, I do what's called a Growth Strategy podcast, but the reason I do the interviews is that it's to pick the brains of real people who run real SME businesses just like yours. And it's the way to learn from their journey, learn from their struggles, get some great advice. And again, it's all just part of this building this community. So hopefully join me for that. And anything else, please feel free to get in touch. Have a wonderful weekend. And yeah, I will see you soon. All right, cheers guys. Bye.